What is up, guys? Welcome back to OverTakes. This is Misfit, and today, it's finally here. We are talking about opening week in the Overwatch League. Cue the freaking music! Yes, I am excited as all get out. Let me tell you, it's been a long time waiting for this to start. There's been a lot of stuff going on. Rosters are all complete. There's some news we need to talk about. We're going to talk predictions today. We are going to talk week 1 in the Overwatch League. We're going to get everything underway. It's my first preview show of the year. We're going to see how things go. We might try some different stuff, as things go on. But week 1 is here. Overwatch League is starting. Thank God. All the speculation, all the other stuff that everybody's been doing for the last 6 months can finally come to a point, and we'll see what happens. So, before I get into that, I'd like to thank everybody for all of your support, all of the likes, all the subscribes, the views, all that stuff. Thank you very much. It's been greatly appreciated. And if you're new, thanks for stopping by. Now that the season's here, we're going to be doing Overwatch League news and reviews and previews and all that good stuff a couple times a week. I'm going to be here for you guys, and it's an open forum, guys. That's the one thing about my show here at OverTakes. It's an open forum. I start the conversation off, and then I want to talk to you guys about it. That's the whole reason why we're here. My power rankings episode was fantastic. It was great talking to you guys and getting, your feelings and all that stuff. That's what this whole forum is about. I start the conversation, we keep it going, and, just talk about Overwatch League because I love it. And I know you guys, you're watching it, you love it too. So just come on, join in, and, let's keep this conversation going. And talk about Overwatch League. And if you guys like talking about regular Overwatch too, hey, I'm a fan too. I play that a lot, but not as much as I did. Reasons, you guys know the reasons. But yeah, thanks for stopping by. Join in the conversation. Hit a like. Ring that bell for alerts so you know when I got other stuff coming up. And also, before I get into that, I also have another channel, my Misfit 99 channel, where I do game playthroughs. Right now I'm doing an Ark Survival Evolved playthrough, so if you want to check that out, the link's down below. And it would be great if you stop by and check that out too. Here we are, guys. Let's get into it. Alright, so we have some news, and I kind of mentioned it in the last video and down in the comments. So, after I released the video, somewhere yesterday in the afternoon, Eggsy has decided to retire from Dallas. I think this is huge for Dallas. I don't think it's the end of the world. I have faith in Dallas, that they're a good team. There's a lot of stuff going around. I think the players are really good. But I think Eggsy's a big bloke. He was fantastic with Paris last year. I thought he would have been absolutely incredible with this team. I do think it sets them back quite a bit. I had them at 3. I probably would drop them down somewhere a couple of spots, honestly. He's a difference maker. That guy is insanely good. And not having him on the team is going to be a blow. And, they might go out and get somebody else. I think they're going to have to at this point. And maybe they address the whole Tracer issue. I don't know. It's hard to say. We don't know what the meta is going to be, guys. Yes, you could go over the scrim bucks and the scrims, and the rush is probably going to be dominant, and you don't know what these guys are going to do. Look at last year. Everyone was 100% positive the whole year. It was going to be Reaper and May. That's all they were going to do. They threw hero pools in, and fucking Ashe became the shit. The hero, the hit scan hero, that was the worst. Nobody's going to use Ashe. She's just a hybrid version of McCree and Widow. Why not just use them? And they used Ashe all freaking year. So we don't know what's going to happen. We're going to see things like Echo come in, and we're going to see some other stuff, and you don't know what creative stuff these guys are going to do. I am banking on week 1 is going to be a shit show. I'm going to throw that out there. It always is. There's upsets. There's things that happen. There are matches that you scratch your head, teams you scratch your head, comps that you scratch your head at, and wonder what is going on. You're going to see who can run what. I don't care what anyone says. I'm not going to believe who is the best at what until I see it. You could have the best Rhine player on the planet. You still might not be that fantastic at Rush because your other components are not as good at playing those heroes that are involved in it. Conversely, you could have all the components that are good at playing Rush and your Rhine is subpar. It's not the end of the world. We're going to see what happens. I'm just excited that it's back. I'm sure you guys are too. But Xe, seriously, on a serious note, I really hope Xe gets better. It's unfortunate that he had to leave because of injuries in his shoulder and his arm and that kind of stuff. It's terrible. When I feel that way too in the NFL and NBA. When guys that are their careers are cut short by injury that have such promise and potential and are fun to watch, it kind of sucks. I hope he gets better. I hope he gets back on his feet, and I'm assuming he's still under contract with Dallas, and hopefully through rest and doctor's orders or whatever, possibly surgery. I don't know what's going to happen with the guy with that because he didn't really say anything in his sweat longer, but I really hope he gets better. He gets back up, and we get to see him play again. Hopefully next year. That would be awesome. But that is a big blow to Dallas. It really is. I would, like I said, I would move down a couple of spots. I don't know who I would put in their place. I wouldn't necessarily just chunk the guys up. I would just tear break it like I was doing, and we'd see. It brings them back down to earth a little bit for me, depending on who they go get. Now, if they go get somebody that, is a suitable replacement, it's going to be hard to replace a guy like Xe. As of right now, they don't have a replacement, and I think it's huge. I don't think it's going to make them totally collapse, but I think it's a big issue. Regardless of that, they still have a lot of great parts, and like I said, I think this team is still really good. I'm not buying into the Dallas is trash thing. I want to see. Just like I've said with a bunch of teams, I want to see them play. I want to see them play more. And it's not to say that their season's going to start off easy. They got Houston, they have the Gladiators this week, and then next week they have the Justice and Boston. So they potentially could go 2-2, in my opinion, and going into the Melee tournament, or being consideration for the Melee tournament. It's going to make a difference. I think they're going to have to figure something out at some point with that. But that's the Dallas news, which, there's always something in the beginning of the season that when you're confident in a pick or something like that, something happens. Like last year, I was really confident that Vancouver was going to be really good, and obviously COVID screwed everything up, and then they imploded and got rid of that whole team. But, here we are. My view has changed a little bit on Dallas. It hasn't totally changed on Dallas. I still think they're better than the Justice, even without Xe. Shoot me. It's just the way I feel. I'm sure a lot of you guys feel differently. But, here we are. The Justice doesn't have a support line. Fuel don't have a hit scan player like Xe anymore. It is what it is. And we'll see if they sign anybody and all that kind of stuff. Now, the other thing is just general Overwatch League news. We have all of the casters, and I love every one of these combinations. We got Doa back, and him and ZP are going to be doing the late-night Korean games and China games, and I think that's going to be fantastic and crazy. And I love Doa the first season. Him and second season, him and Monty were great. I always like Uber and Mr. X the best. From minute one, watching competitive Overwatch, and I heard those guys cast together, I just thought they were fantastic. But I do think ZP and Doa are going to be very fun, and it's going to make those games, if you're staying up that late or getting up and watching them early in the morning on the Encore thing, it's going to make it exciting and fun, and they're going to be great. And I do like the other combinations too. Yeah, we have Brennan Sideshow coming back, which is great. I like them. They got better and better as the year went on. And then we have Jaws with Vicky Kitty. I think this is going to be phenomenal. I would like to see Lemon Kiwi and leg day, but there's such a voice for tier 2 that I think that it's not good that they're not here, but they just spur that community on, and it's fantastic that they're there and they're leading the pack in that. I like Jaws and Vicky Kitty. I think it's going to be great. And also Achilleos and Avril, I think, are going to be fantastic. Am I going to miss Wolf? Hell yeah. I love that guy. But I think they're going to be a great duo, too. There's going to be a lot of, like, all the casters are very enthusiastic, informed, and they make it just fun. And it's fantastic. I think the Death is going to be great. With the addition of Danny, we needed something like that. We needed a little extra voice in there, and I think Danny's going to provide a good voice. And, yeah, it's going to be fun. And, we'll see what happens. I think this is going to be, I've said it before, I think competitively this season is going to be the best that we've had, maybe since season 1, where Overwatch is a different game then. People were just feeling things out. The play wasn't as cohesive, and the coaches weren't as good. All that kind of stuff was different then. Now I think we're in a spot where you can make an argument for a bunch of teams to do whatever in the league right now. And they're all viable. It just depends on whether I or you or whoever it is believes in the players on that team, the coaching staff, and all that. It's going to be fantastic. I just think the competition is going to be next level. And it's going to be great. But now, let's bust into week 1. Let's talk about the schedule for week 1. And it is week 1 of the preliminaries for the May Melee tournament. So, let's dive into it a little bit. There are some fantastic matches this week. I'm so excited. I've said that about 6,000 times. Friday can't get here soon enough, guys. To be honest, I'm stoked. It's been too long. But, yeah, let's talk about this. So, first week of preliminaries for the May Melee tournament. Starting off, I'll just run down the schedule really quick, and then we'll talk about a couple of the matches in here, and then I'll give my picks for those matches when we talk about it, and then I'll give my picks overall for the week like we've been doing for the last couple of years, and we'll do it in the rapid-fire succession style that we did in years past. Let's talk about the schedule. So first off, to kick the whole weekend off, we have the Battle of Texas with the Houston Outlaws taking on Dallas Fuel. Next up on Friday, we have the Gladiators versus the Shock. Then we dive into Saturday morning, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're keeping track of that, we have Guangzhou taking on Shanghai, followed by Chengdu taking on the Valiant, and then finally we have the Fusion taking on the Seoul Dynasty from the East. And then back to the West, we have the Defiant taking on the Titans, the Reign taking on the Mayhem, Dallas taking on the Los Angeles Gladiators. Now for Sunday, we have in the East, we have Guangzhou taking on Seoul, Chengdu taking on Shanghai, Philly taking on the Valiant, and then back to the West, we have Houston, San Francisco, Florida, Vancouver, and wrapping up week 1, we have Toronto taking on Atlanta. So, let's talk about a couple of the matches here. I'm going to highlight a couple. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Gladiators and the Shock. We're going to talk Philly, Seoul, and Atlanta and the Mayhem. And we'll talk a little bit about there's really nothing on Sunday's always kind of meh as far as the games go. Those are the highlighted games for me. We could talk a little bit Chengdu, Shanghai. We could do that for a sec, I guess. Yeah, we'll do that. All right. And just so you guys know, if you're new to the program, I don't run a script. I just talk. And I talk about the games, talk about the matches. It's just, I'm comfortable with that. I try doing scripts. I don't like doing it. I have an outline and some pertinent information in front of me, and then I just let it rip. And then you guys come back and we talk about what I said, and then, your opinions on it and all that kind of stuff. Kind of how I work. All right. So we're not going to talk about Dallas and Houston. We'll talk about them really quick when I run through the matches. It is starting the season off. It's going to be a good game. Don't get me wrong. I think this is going to be a better game than some people might think, or one way or the other. Especially with Eggsy out, I think that adds a whole new perspective onto this game. I'll give you my pick on that, and we'll see what happens first match of the weekend. But I want to talk about Gladiators shock. All right, this is the big one to start off the weekend to me. In the East, two best teams, San Francisco and the Gladiators. I have San Francisco above them. This is the Gladiator shot to me to show that they're here for real this year. Because they have a rough week one. San Francisco and Dallas. That's not going to be easy. But they need to come out of the gates and show people that all these roster changes and this whole different direction that they've gone in is going to make a difference. And they are here right now, ready to go. It is imperative that they show up for this match. If they get boomed, they're in big trouble. As far as where they think they are, where we think they are, and, mental state and all that. This is a big game for the Gladiators. Also a big game for the Shock, who always start off slowly. And they gain momentum and gain a feel for the meta and all that stuff. And then they just do San Francisco things and roll people. I think it's good, a big deal for San Francisco also to get off to a good start, because there's less games this year. They can't do the feeling out stage of a fight where you're trying to see who's punching, how they're punching. You got to come out swinging, because with four matches to get to be eligible to play for the tournament, you can't screw around. And I don't say that San Francisco screws around. I say that my thought is early on in the season they try to see where teams are at a little bit. And the matches are closer than they should be. I think this match should be close. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be. But they need to come out and establish themselves as the two-time champions and get the ball rolling sooner than later, just because of the amount of games. There's no time to play around. It's gone from Major League Baseball type of schedule, or NBA or NHL with a lot of games, to NFL/college football scenario with a limited amount of games, a limited amount of chances, and you have to do everything you can to win right away. There's no, I'm taking a week, we're taking a match off, we're resting all these guys. It's not going to happen this year. There's not enough games for that. You lose one game or two, you lose 2-3 games, you're out of the tournament. And not that I'm saying San Francisco is going to lose that many games, but you see where I'm going here. These games are more important. There's more of a sense of urgency going into weeks now than there were before. You also have bye weeks where you can watch other teams play, and a couple of teams have them this week that are up towards the top, like the Justice, who don't play this week. San Francisco has to not screw around. The Gladiators have to prove themselves, and I think this match is going to be fantastic. It's going to come down to tanks, I think, in this one. I'm not going to say that the supports and the DPS are even, because I think San Francisco's DPS are far and away better than the Gladiators. It's just my opinion on that. Even without Ons and Rascal, I think they're that much better. In saying that, the Gladiators can get some things established and rolling, though, in this, even though I don't think that they're on the same level DPS-wise. Birdring and Mirror, along with Kevster, I think can do a good job of covering any hero they need to cover, and wherever they want to go with this. I think it's going to be great. It's just, if it gets down to Tracer, it's Striker and everybody else, to me. So that's the scary thing, and I've been saying that for 4 freaking years. If you get into metas where Tracer becomes heavy, San Francisco's just going to roll, because Striker is the best, bar none. And you can throw Sabiobi, you can throw Prophet, you can throw some ex-rookie. I don't care. I'm still going to say Striker. He carried Boston on his back in Season 1. Now, the supports, I think, are pretty close, but I get they're different styles. Violet's just bloodthirsty, and so is FD God. You got to watch out for these two. But Moth and Shu are, we're talking here, the support line-wise, we're talking probably 2 of the top 5 combos in the league right now. So it's not a wash. I give a slight edge to San Francisco. But, Shu and Moth are going to be great. And Moth's leadership could be missed by San Francisco and be advantageous to the Gladiators in this matchup. That's one of those things. They're just like a tick below San Francisco and everything. And I have to keep caveat, doing the... but, they are playing the Shock. Is really what it comes down to. I like the Shock's tank line better, but... Mostly because I haven't seen Muse play in a big match in the Overwatch League. I want to see that. If they're running Rhine, you know who's going to be in there for San Francisco. It's going to be Super. And you're going to have Super and Choi. You can't knock that one. But, Space and potentially Muse could be just as good. It's going to be a close match, guys. But in the end, I really am leaning towards San Francisco. And I'm going to go 3-1. I don't think it's going to be a boomed 3-1 or a 3-0 or anything like that. If San Francisco comes out and 3-0s them, the rest of the league just might be in trouble. I think it's going to be 3-1 San Francisco, a close 3-1. Potential to get to a 3-2. Gladiators, I think, are just a little bit short of them right now. That's just my feeling. So that's the Gladiators and the Shock. Let's move on to Philly and Seoul. Okay. So we're going to hit our first East match of the week. Or of the season, I should say. And this is two teams that are kind of... I really like Philly. Even with Hakba and Toby, I'm still not sold that they're going to collapse. They're going to be not as good? Probably. But I said in power rankings, I think that they're not going to slip in the East. I don't think they are. You guys can kill me for it. And I've seen the other guys say, Philadelphia's garbage. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying a team with Carpe, Mono, Alarm. I'm not buying that as garbage. And then you add in Toby, who's good. He's not on Funny Astro level of good, but he's good enough. He's a main support that was in the championship last year. He was on Lunatic High. He was on a mediocre Seoul team the years before that, and during the last regular season, but I don't think it had anything to do, really as much to do with him as a lot of people might want to skew that. I think he's still decent. Hot Buzz played with Mono with a different style, and I don't think Philly's going to play like New York. So I want to see what happens here. The one big issue Philly's going to have, I haven't talked about Seoul yet, but we'll get to them in a second. The one big issue that Philly could have in this match is synergy and not having played with these guys for a long time. It's been a little over a week. That's not enough time to go into a season, and I'm not making excuses for them either. So let's get that out of the way. But I think that they can work through this. Philly says they're trying to get these guys over there. Poco. I believe it's Poco, Shockwave, Echo, and EQO, and the Funny Astro over there to play in the matches as soon as they can. They just might struggle to start more than I want to believe. I am a believer in Philadelphia, mostly because I think the East is way overrated by a lot of people. Some of these teams I think I'm not saying they're not good, but I think all the teams are beatable right now by Philly. Seoul, close. Closer than I want it to be, but Philly's regular roster beats them every time. Shanghai's way better. I'm not going to deny that. Chengdu, beatable. Guangzhou, Hangzhou, beatable. Valiant, forget about it. We're not even going to talk about that. But Seoul is Seoul, and they could come out and play like they did in the finals, where they gave the Shock, a run for their money. But they could be Seoul, and they could be a team that lost to Chengdu twice, 3-0 last year. You don't know what you're going to get. They're like the fucking Forrest Gump of the league. That life is like a box of chocolates. Life is like a box of Dynasty. You don't know what you're going to get. They have my guy, so I know he's going to be ready. Profit will be there. Gesture, In a rush comp, everyone's like worried about that. They'll be fine. I'm more worried about the off tank. To you, I don't think is on the level of even Hotba. And you can slay me for that. And we all know how important that spot is. I also think Alarm is a game changer. Game changer. The difference that this dude makes just for this team last year is unbelievable. He does things that on Ana or whatever they have him on, the other guys cannot do. He is a far superior flex than anything that Seoul has. Flex support. This all being said about Philadelphia here, I just... Seoul, I hate Seoul sometimes. I really freaking do. Because I want to pick against them, and I'm like, what if this is the week? Is this the week they show up? I don't know. They could show up against Philadelphia. They could get 3-0. Yeah, but they could absolutely kick their ass in the next month. This is the conundrum of Seoul. Oh, my God. Consistency, guys. Please, just give me some. Seoul, please give me some consistency this year so I can figure you out. Okay, I'm done malding about Seoul. But I that all being said, I think Seoul can beat them, and I am going to go against my better judgment and pick Seoul in this match 3-2. Will I be surprised if Philly beats them in any way, shape, or form? Nope, I won't. Philly 3-0, so I'm like, yep, well, it's that Seoul this week, and if it's 3-2, well, Seoul showed up, but Philly was just better. I just think that it's more compatibility and cohesion right now with Philadelphia with the two new guys thrown in there. I think they're going to be fine as it moves along, and later this weekend they play the Valiant. If they lose to the Valiant somehow, then I'm changing my mind on them. Obviously, I said anyone that loses to the Valiant in my Valiant when I did the preview of the Valiant, if you lose to the Valiant, you immediately go to contenders, and I will put Philadelphia in contenders if they lose to the Valiant. That being said, I am going to go with Seoul here. Against any judgment in my brain, I am going to go with my profit standing, and I'm going to take the Seoul Dynasty over Philadelphia, and I'll have my first loss of the year. Well, at least in the East. Potentially. You know where I'm going. All right, I'm way too hyped right now. But anyway, let's move on to the next match. We're heading back west, and we are going to talk my boys, the Florida Mayhem, opening up the season against the Atlanta Reign. Now, I said this is where the rubber meets the road for these two teams. We're going to see where they're at. These two teams are very, very close. I said I call them 6 and 6A, or 5 and 5A, whichever number you want to use in the order that I did in the power rankings preview thing. This is not a spoiler. I'm picking Florida. I'm going to talk about this match because it means a lot. And just to see where these two teams are, you guys know who I'm picking, but let's talk about it. So, Atlanta, Florida, they kind of got a history going. There's a little rivalry starting with these two, and I kind of like it. It started a little bit last year. They boomed Florida in the beginning of the year, and they talked shit, and then Florida, the rest of the year, just clapped them. It is what it is, and it's developing into a rivalry, and I'm liking it. I want rivalries in this league, damn it, more than Houston and Dallas. And that's basically the fan bases. One who hates themselves, and the other one who hates everybody who talks about their team bad. Or is that both teams from Texas? Anyway, I want a real rivalry. We have one developing here. I think we kind of could have one with Philadelphia and San Francisco if they were in the same region this year. That started bubbling a little bit last year, and it was kind of getting fun. But, here we are. Let's talk Atlanta and Florida. Now, I like a lot of the components of Florida and of Atlanta. The one thing I like better on Atlanta right now, this moment, and this is not a knock against Florida, I like the Atlanta DPS. This is their bread and butter. They chose not to help out any other position, really. By getting they brought Pelican in, they got rid of Erster. I think that this is going to be a good move. I just like where they're going here. Their DPS is going to make or break this team all year long. I think that they're going to... Now, they could cover up a lot of flaws on this team which there are teams that have the same issue, Washington being one of them, where they have players that are going to cover up flaws, and one of the flaws is I think Gator and Hawk are decent. I don't think they're top of the league, though, as of this moment. I mean, we'll see as we move into the season and metas and stuff flesh themselves out. But I really think that Florida's tank line, Oj included, are better than Gator and Hawk. And I think that's going to be a big deal. But like I said, I think Atlanta's DPS line in a lot of matches are going to be the hard carry, and they are going to just fuck other teams. With Kai, Pelican, Edison, I just think that's going to be just a nightmare to go up against. Because you have all the heroes covered at a high level. Gator and Hawk can be okay. Masa and Iris, they're also kind of questionable, and I think Florida's support line is better than those two by leaps and bounds as well. Slime and Gangnam Jin. I think those two guys are just phenomenal, and I think they're going to show you what they're all about when this match comes about. This is going to be a close match, though, because like I said, I mean, you have BQB and Yankee. They are no slouch. They are top-notch as well. So this is going to be... I like Atlanta's DPS better. The rest of the roster, though, starting rosters for these teams, I like Florida a tick better. I think it's going to be a 3-2 match. Obviously, I'm going with Florida, and I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be happy, but I wouldn't be surprised if Atlanta beats them in a close match. I just think this is going to be a burner of a match. Now, let's move on to our next match, where would be the next match of the day. Let's talk Dallas Gladiators. All right, we already talked about the Gladiators and what I think of them. Dallas, big problems without Eggsy. It's fair to say that they've, like I said, they've dropped down a notch. This game is huge for them in a lot of ways to prove to people, especially coming off of their match, and this could very well go for Los Angeles, where they're at. Now, Dallas plays Houston. Houston's going to be improved. I think it's going to be a close match. We'll talk about results and all that. I told you my thoughts on the Gladiators against San Francisco. Now, coming into this match, these two teams are not too far off of each other. The one thing, though, is without Eggsy, I'm leery. But that's one of the Gladiators' weaknesses, is not having as high skilled of a DPS line as, say, Dallas did with Eggsy in there. I think Sparkle and those guys are fine. Just like I think, Birdring, Kevster, Mirror are going to be decent. But, we have a lot to see what happens here. And Gladiators, I'm giving them the edge in the supports for the simple fact that I just love Shu and I like Moth together. I think that's going to be a big factor in here. And I really don't think Dallas has anything, because they probably had Eggsy plugged into a bunch of different things. So you have to go backtrack and try and figure stuff out over the last... We don't know when he announced it to the team, but he came out and announced it live to everybody yesterday, or what would be Tuesday. So now I've been on the Dallas bandwagon here. I think this is a Los Angeles Gladiators match right here that they're going to take. Simply for all of those factors. I liked Dallas a lot more when they had Eggsy in there. I'm going to just say that flat out. Dallas's tank line is probably better, but I can't go against the Gladiators in this match because I think they're better than Dallas anyway, even with the Eggsy there. I just have to go Gladiators in this. I think they're going to be on a rebound from San Francisco. They're going to come in, take care of business, and I think they're going to beat the Fuel 3-1, 3-2. I don't think it's going to be a bad match. I don't think it's going to be as close as it would have been as if Eggsy was there. That's my thoughts on that match. I'm running a little short on time. This is running a little longer but real quick, we'll do real quick Shanghai and Chengdu. I want to see what this boils down to is Shanghai's the best. I want to see how Chengdu hangs with them. I want to see where their new lineup, their new system, potentially relying on goofy ball stuff and all that. I want to see Gaga play up against Shanghai. I want to see Shanghai, obviously, with Fate and all of this talent that they have on this team. I want to see this come about, Erster and all these new guys. I want to see if they're as good as I think they are, which I think they're a tick below San Francisco. but I also think Chengdu is up and coming. I want to see if Chengdu gives them a match. And if they give them a match, that changes things a little bit, especially with where Philadelphia is. And, like I said, we're talking about where Philadelphia is here, seeing when they play Seoul. And I'm picking Seoul, so, things might shake down a little bit differently. I might change my mind if Chengdu gives them a battle. If they beat them by any chance, then I've underestimated Chengdu by leaps and bounds, and I think they're going to be good this year. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on this. I think Shanghai's going to beat them 3-1, but I think Chengdu puts up a fight. So, those are my highlighted games for the week. And we call this the Rundown. This is where I rapid fire go through every match in the Overwatch League for the weekend, and I give you just a spot pick of a team, probably a map differential kind of thing, 3-2, 3-1, 3-0 sweep, whatever. I'm going to do that again this year. So let's kick off our first rundown. All right, here we go. First match of the season, we have the Houston Outlaws taking on Dallas Fuel, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For all you guys keeping track out there. All right. I'm going Dallas 3-2. There you go. That's my first pick of for the season. Could be my first loss, but I like Dallas 3-2. I think Houston's way better than advertised. I think Dallas is still really good. Here we are. Dallas 3-2 in the Battle of Texas. Next match, we have San Francisco and the Gladiators. I already gave you that pick. I like San Francisco in a close one. Next match, Saturday, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have, from the East, we have the Guangzhou Charge taking on the Shanghai Dragons in the debut match from the East bracket. I am going to go Shanghai in this, 3-0. I think Shanghai wipes the floor with Guangzhou. No questions asked. Just too much for them. Next match, Valiant Chengdu. Chengdu, let's move on. Okay. Philadelphia Seoul, I already gave you my pick in this match. I took the Seoul Dynasty. That was the last match in the East for the weekend. Now back to the West, or not the weekend, for Saturday. Let's go to the Saturday matches in the West, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have the Toronto Defiant taking on the Vancouver Titans. I like Toronto in that. I think they're miles better than Vancouver is right now, and I like them 3-1. Next match, we've already talked about this one. I'm taking Florida, 3-2 over Atlanta. Match after that, we already spoke about that one. I'm taking the Gladiators 3-1. Back to the East we go. 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have Guangzhou playing their second match of the week, taking on Seoul Dynasty. I'm going with the Seoul Dynasty in another 3-0. A bad weekend for Guangzhou. They have a rough schedule to start, and they're starting off 0-2 in my mind. Seoul starting off 2-0, looking good in my mind as well. Let's go to the next match. I already gave you my opinion on that. Shanghai 3-1 over Chengdu. Final match of the weekend from the East. Philadelphia taking on the Valiant Philly. They could have Poco, Boombox, some kid off the street in Philadelphia and beat the Valiant. I don't care who it is. They could bring Roshan out for all I care and beat the Valiant with them, whatever. Anyway, final matches in the West. We have Houston taking on San Francisco, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Give me the shock in that one, 3-0. Tough weekend for Houston, but it's okay. Outlaws fans, don't implode. Please. Next match of the weekend, we have Florida taking on Vancouver. I like Florida 3-1. In that one, just too much for Vancouver. Final match of the weekend, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've got Toronto taking on Atlanta. I like Atlanta in this one, 3-1. I just think, much like I said about a couple of the other matches, I just think they're too much for Toronto right now, and they are going to take them. There it is, guys. Rundown number 1. And that's going to do it for my picks for this week. And you know what? That's going to do it for the episode. So I'd like to thank all you guys for hanging around, checking things out, giving a listen in, and hearing what I had to say about the matches, my highlighted matches, and some of the other stuff going around the league, and of course the rundown with all the matches that I picked. Once again, thank you very much for all of your support. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. And don't forget, join in that conversation down below. I want to hear your picks, hear who you guys got this week. Have at it. Let's go, guys. Season's here. full force starting up tomorrow. That's going to do it. If you like what you heard, do the YouTube things for me. That would be great. Subscribe, like, hit the bell, all the good stuff. Greatly appreciated as well. Thank you very much. This is Misfit. I'm out. Everybody have a good rest of your day. Stay safe, and I will talk to you on the next one. Enjoy the first weekend, guys. It's been a long time. See you around. I'll be on social media. Check me out. Write comments down below. Catch you guys in the next one.